our meeting to order at 6:02 p.m. Welcome to all of our guests. Hello. Mr. Robson, would you call the roll for us, please?
Mr. Eckenrode?
Here.
Mr. Funk?
Here.
Mr. Perez?
Here.
Mrs. Walker? Here. And Mrs. Newman.
All right, wait. Somebody from the ECC. Well, how do we start our day when we could go to school? What do we do when we go into the classroom?
We stand up and we say.
That's what we're going to do now. So let's do it. Ready? Real nice and loud. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That was so good. That was so good. Thank you all so much. Dr. Lloyd, why don't you tell us who our friends are and why they're here today?
Yeah, I can do that. And I'm the one that made everything late, so I apologize for doing that. I'm really sorry. So, as the board knows, each month, generally speaking, starting in October, we have a presentation by a group of people from each school. And so we have members from the Early Childhood Center who are going to be here from both the preschool and kindergarten programs, right? And they're going to, I think, talk to us about what they're doing as it relates to benefits-based accountability, along with probably a lot of other cool things too. So, Ms. Jackson, I'm going to give this microphone to you and allow you to do your thing and introduce your team.
Oh, here we go.
Thanks, Colin. Hi, everyone. I'm Jennifer Jackson. I'm the building principal of the Oaks Falls Early Childhood Center, more lovingly known as the ECC, home of the Itty Bitty Bulldogs. So we do have all of our preschoolers and kindergartners in district. So we have 10 sections of kindergarten and now 9 sections of preschool. We have about 314 students that we serve, ages 3 to 6. Actually, about 106 of those are students with disabilities, so over 33% of our population are students with disabilities that we serve. So we actually have a good mix of our kiddos here tonight with several of our teaching staff, and I'll introduce those humans in a minute. Actually, today we toured all the buildings, pre-K through 12 in the district, and I think it was kind of an eye-opening moment for several of us as I was in classrooms with older students doing research, which you're going to see our kindergartners do research, working on 2D and 3D shapes with both our preschool and kindergarten are already working on, but they were doing that over at OFIS. So it was a great way to see everything that we work on at the ECC really does travel up all the way through 12th grade in district. See, now my clicker won't work. Click the button. All right, there we go. So we obviously work around benefits-based accountability. One of the interesting things at the ECC as far as benefits-based accountability and design work is that when I was hired in the spring, I also hired at least 8 new teachers, which was almost half the staff at the ECC as far as teaching staff, and then several other support folks. So we are a little bit trying to get into benefits-based accountability more and our design work. Most of the members on both of those teams in the building are also new staff members, so we're learning that process together. But we did survey all of our family members about what benefits are most important, as well as the staff, and I've been lucky enough to go into every classroom and do some one-question surveys with our kiddos too to hear what their voice is. And we want to continue working on that and asking more one-question surveys, not only to our students, but also to staff and families. So with that, Ms. Kogan, we found our top 4, which is not very surprising for us working with kids in early childhood and with families with young students. So these are our top 4 benefits that came out of all of the information that we've gathered from our stakeholders, and you're going to see that they very much so tie together. That students are doing relevant, interesting, and meaningful work. How else are you going to keep 3 to 6-year-olds engaged all day long? We make everything as interesting and meaningful as possible to them. Families and staff also really were talking about the empathy component and social emotional, which are those kind of next two components. And those really go hand in hand. Andrea Hayes is here, she's our school counselor. She's our school counselor. Not only does she work a lot on that, but also within our second step program that we use, pre-K, and with our kindergartners. We also have a word of the month with our PBIS program that everyone works on. And we actually are doing our design work around those words of the month for the students. I'm trying to think, we do Kinder Council. Every month there is a service project that all of our students are involved in. Preschool even did a food drive where then they took all of those goods to the local food pantry, sorted them, shelved them. So we do a lot of things in-house with our preschoolers and kindergartners and also out within the community as well to work on those two components. And what we really kind of wanted to highlight tonight was promoting and modeling continued growth and learning throughout life. Obviously, we instill that as much as we can at the early years so they can carry that out throughout the rest of their lives. So we have 4 stations set up, and you're gonna kind of break out in groups. Parents, do not just hover where your child is. We want you to rotate too, because we definitely want the board and our families and everyone in attendance to see what our kiddos are doing and learning. We have over here with Mrs. Roberto, she brought, I think, 6 of her students with her. So everyone is listed there. They have been doing action research, and back in February, it started with groundhogs, and they've already learned how to find primary sources, secondary sources. We look through books, videos, they talk to experts, and now they've moved on to doing penguin research. So with her today is Madison, Amelia, who I call Mia still, Olivia, Caleb, Penny, and Harley are here with her. So this is Mrs. Roberto's group. Over there is Mrs. Clay. Stephanie Clay has a group of 4 of her students. She has Ava, whose mom is a kindergarten teacher with us at the ACC. Jojo, whose mom is assistant principal, Mrs. Carey, over at Ball Phoenix. Wesley and Liam are here. They're doing ECC Target. They're going to be demonstrating math and the importance of those skills, especially around money and currency exchange with economics for you all. Mrs. Hayes, no, I lied. Mrs. Becker's next. She's over there in the back. Mrs. Becker is one of our preschool teachers, and she brought a group of community helpers with her. Kellen and Mia, our brother and sister. Luciano and Victoria. Victoria keeps introducing me, which I appreciate very much so. They've been working a lot within preschool on what are our community helpers, what is our community in general. So you're going to learn about what they want to be when they grow up and about different community helpers we have right here in Olmsted Falls. And then we have growth mindset with Mrs. Hayes. She has Carter, Barry, Emma, and Dawson with her. So she's got a good collection of humans from the different teachers.
They're all from Kinder Council.
They're all Kinder Council members, which that's awesome. We have 11 Kinder Council representatives, 1 from each of the 10 sections, and then one of our intervention specialists also has a member on Kinder Council as well. So that's really awesome to see that collective group of them with Mrs. Hayes. So she's going to go over growth mindset. That's something that they've been working on in their monthly lessons. So they'll highlight that and maybe some other things. Get ready for some brain research too while you're over there. I also see we have Gabby Green is one of our intervention specialists from kindergarten is here with us. Our building sub Jen showed up. Hi Jen, thanks for coming. I saw Andrea Heinrich somewhere, she sat back down. And I think I saw Angela McNeely pop in. And Ashley Liu, also a kindergarten teacher, and Ava's mom, who's snuggling Carter. So, we're gonna flip to the next slide. We're gonna go kind of quick, because I know you all have an agenda beyond us this evening. We're gonna have 4 minutes. I think we might put the microphone, I heard that we don't have sound, and this barks when it's done, because you know we are the itty-bitty bulldogs, so we have to do that. So if the board and the audience can split up, and again, parents, you are not allowed to hover at your kid's station. You're gonna have to move around too every 4 minutes. So if we can get our stations ready and have people. When our rotations are done, all of our kindergartners and preschoolers are gonna take a picture.
You know what?
Yeah, we're gonna Kinder Council.
Yeah, is that why you want me to be on fire? Yeah, I know.
So our activity was, right, so Carter, what is the color side of our brain?
How much?
Yeah, and what is the black and white side? So instead of bouncing, it's not gonna learn. So these are thought bubbles. So these are things we say to ourselves that either helps our brain grow or puts us to sleep. So we happens every day. I did, Emma, what side of the brain do you think that was? The one that helps you grow or puts you to sleep? Alright, let's see. Here we go. We say, instead of I give up, what does it say? Imagine you grow up, what's that one sometimes say? To change this thought. Don't give up. Yeah, did you guys hear? Don't give up. What? Yes, right? We don't give up. Yeah, very good. All right, very good. Okay, hold on to the top of your bottle. They'll never know. All right, so let's see. Which one did you get? I just can't. What side do you think that should go on? Helping you right now or what? I just can't do this. How do we change that around? Stop it. How do we change that around? What's our magic word? I just can't do this. Very good. All right. So the next thing that we did in the lesson, we had a book called The Magical Yes. So this is really good book that the kids like. They find the magical yes. And then they tell them that they may think of something they can't do yet. And they write it down and they draw this picture. So I invite you guys to come up and ask what your picture is and what their answer
It very quietly barked at us, so it is time to rotate. Maybe if we go clockwise? And I'll reset the timer.
Clockwise. I'm supposed to go there and do it.
He's one of my favorite people in the world.
Alright, so in February we do everybody have a
Helen, what's your favorite dinosaur? T-Rex?
Yeah.
Do you like to sing? You like Taylor Swift?
What's your favorite song to sing?
All right, go ahead and rotate.
break. Hide the help guys, right? Alright, hide the punch. Or top bubble. And we can decide which side of the break. And then what to start with one of these. Hold on to the top and bottom. Butterfly, ballerina. And then let's go to Bruce. What does Bruce want to be? Bring that on, get right under. And then going down, there you are. What did you say, Tony? Ice cream. And then let's go. One shot. Good job. Good job. All right. Great. I'll take children to shop on right. Are you done with Does that help her? Let me know. Now, swing big
It sounds like M. Night Shyamalan's The Village or something. Yeah.
You guys think, throw your brain or put it to sleep. Where does it go on the rack? Not on the seat. Good job. No, big toe. All right. This one. Let's see. Is that your favorite dinosaur? So cute.
All right, everyone, go to your last rotation. We're almost done. Thank you.
Look at her sister right there. Look how cute. How's it going? You got another rock star. Okay. All right, so let me make everyone, we have a party and so in February, we're gonna take a picture. We talked about what did we talk about? And what does it mean to persevere? Right, I can't do this yet, right? But never give up. That's what we talked about. So I can grow. What is
software grade.
Harder, which side is it? Right?
That's so good. What? Can't even spell it.
Alright, here, I'll put what you tell everybody.
Alright, parents and audience members, you can go back to your seats for just a moment.
Good job, guys. Thank you. Good job, Kellen.
That's all, I just remember all the conversations from dinosaurs.
We're trying to find some other English somewhere.
No doubt about it. I told him this morning, I'm like, you're gonna have to leave school and you're gonna come back. Yeah, I'm gonna dig sites around here.
Well, as Dr. Lloyd wraps up over there, keeping us up again, I want to thank all of you parents for making time tonight. I know it's a busy time of year, and we appreciate you all so much. You entrust us with your children every day, and then to take time out today to share them with us and our community again. We really, truly appreciate it. Teachers, if you could walk over here with your students for them to get a picture with Ms. Katrina, that would be amazing. So teachers who are present, even if you weren't part of the presentation, if you guys could head over there also with them so we can get a photo. Once the pictures are done, parents and kiddos, you are allowed to leave, and staff, unless you all really want to sit through the rest of the board presentation, by all means.
I would not recommend it. You should just.
I don't know that the board wants like 3 to 6-year-olds being Nancy also throughout it, but you never know. Hey, it could be entertaining.
We're Nancy too, it's fine. But please, like.
But again, thank you all so much.
Huh? Yeah. Yeah. Just, real estate. Nothing. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Thank you. I don't blame you.
Thanks for coming out today. I'll see you Monday. Yes, Monday. Ready for it? Yep. Thank you for coming up. I appreciate it, okay? You're welcome. Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye.
I know, I'm like, what's going on? And you were like, still taking pictures. I was like, that's impressive. You were taking video at some point.
You just get to
That was like the end.
Yeah, bring it up. Ice cream. Hey, Matt. Well, thank you to Ms. Jackson, the staff, the kids. That was awesome. All of our
Thanks
families.
for having me.
Yeah, always welcome. Always welcome. Thank you so much. Okay, we will now move into our administrative reports. PTA.
Okay. Thanks for having me. Currently, PTA membership across the district is 1,526 members, which is very nice. The volunteer celebration, I know I gave you guys a date, but we just got notified of a triple booking, and we're trying to coordinate with Sam to get that all, so I will get back to you on the date and time on that. I don't know what we're gonna do yet, but we're working with Tim and Sam to reschedule that. The PTA Council fundraiser is still live for another day, so if you have a bunch of tickets, the jackpot is up to over $400 tonight. Tomorrow it ends and the winner will be revealed, so purchase those tickets if you haven't already. All that money will go to help pay for senior scholarships. Currently, for the OEC PTA, Safety Town registration is open, and they are collecting items for the Bulldog Basic Store as part of their community service. Falls Lennox has been, the ECC PTA has been very busy. They donated books for the book vending machine. They sponsored second grade field trip to Playhouse Square. They sponsored an author visit. During Right to Read Week, they sponsored a student wellness assembly. They created an Amazon wish list for the ECC to get books that align with their PBIS themes. So I know that people are donating those books to the teachers. So they've done quite a bit lately. Opus PTA has sponsored Mr. Dustin Brady, author of Trapped in a Video Game series. They supported the fourth grade trip to the Lake Erie Nature and Science Center. And they raised $1,200 from Penny Wars, and they're running a cookie dough fundraiser currently. So they're also very busy. Middle school just rearranged their dodgeball because of the girls' basketball, so I believe they're doing that right now.
Currently,
Yeah, currently. So that was a last minute change because I think it will affect a lot of people wanting to go to Dayton tomorrow. So hopefully that's also very successful. And high school, for their dodgeball tournament, they raised over $2,000, which was going towards scholarships as well. So been real busy in all the units across the district. And anybody have any questions?
That's awesome. Thank you. Anybody playing the dodgeball tournament? Anybody? This feels like you would have played.
We weren't able to because there was a meeting.
Yeah.
It ended like 2 minutes after, it was a fast one.
I was asking the referee, I was very disappointed that my responsibility.
You would want to referee.
I would.
Thank you very much. Polaris update, Mrs. Walker?
Yes, we had a meeting on Tuesday, and for those of you who don't know, when you serve on the board at Polaris, they give you treats from their culinary group, so we celebrated Pie Day, and I went home with like 5 pies, and I kept thinking, like, how many people do you think live in my house? But, so yes, that was good. But the one presentation that they did, they talked about their internships that they work on at Polaris, which they're gearing up. Like, they have a job fair coming up for like their HVAC and their construction, and it was actually quite impressive. Last summer, so those juniors in their summer before their senior year, they had 109 kids that were working mostly full-time. I think that all but maybe a couple of them were full-time in their chosen fields. I mean, making like $20 an hour, some of these kids, which isn't too bad for a 17-year-old kid. And of those, they also have like 91 students that have continued to work in their field to some degree during the school year. I did learn that of those 91 that are currently working, like 19 of them are from Olmsted Falls. And we know internships are pathways into employment, so it's good to know that they have resources, and it does appear as if Olmsted Falls students are taking advantage of those resources. They did highlight that for the first time they had cosmetology internships last summer, and there was a girl from Strongsville who presented, and she actually already has her license. She'll graduate in May and is working full-time in the salon now, or working, not full-time, but on her off time from school. And they have 12 of the other students, because of those internships, will sit for their license early. So they're pretty proud about that. So they're gearing up. They're always looking for opportunities for internships, which is actually, they did show the area of the 91 students currently working in their field. It really is, I mean, it's how much it serves Northeast Ohio. A lot were Southwest, because Southwest Hospital is very supportive and connected to it. But there was a lot in Lakewood. We had somebody working in Olmsted Falls. So it really showed how much Polaris really is a pipeline to trained labor force for the area. So it's, I mean, it really highlights the value of the program. So that was, other than that, it was a normal meeting of, financial statements and whatnot. So,
Thank you. Did you have anything specifically you wanted to add about Polaris now?
I will tell you that Mr. Timmons, who's the superintendent there, has a meeting scheduled with all of the school districts that feed into Polaris to discuss the strategic plan that's being developed, and specifically the individual that he had go around and speak to each superintendent and each high school principal to offer feedback, both plus Delta, on all things associated with Polaris, and we're supposed to talk about it at that meeting. So I'm looking forward to that conversation.
Very good. Thank you. Any questions for Mrs. Walker? All right. Mr. Zeller.
Thank you. It's been a busy time. We've been posting our open positions. We've had a pretty good response. I think we mirror what a lot of people see in terms of intervention specialists. We have 20 applicants for our middle school intervention specialist position, and we have 22 for our Falls Lennox intervention specialist position. We're getting a good response in our social studies position that was just posted a couple of days ago. We already have 30 applicants for that. So all in all, I think we're getting good responses. I was able to participate at the Cleveland State Job Fair. That was nice. Had a lot of action there, talking to a lot of their graduates. They're very interested in the district. And then next week I'll be at Bowling Green talking with their graduates. Want to thank Kim. She's been wonderful in helping me get recruiting materials around and designed, and sending me proof after proof to make sure it's right. So she's been able to turn that around quickly for me, so I really appreciate her effort with that. So Kim, thank you very much. We conducted a Google audit looking at our admin console in the technology department. We were fortunate that we had a pretty good result come back from that audit. We didn't have many errors in terms of things that we needed to address immediately. According to the person who conducted the audit, the company that did the audit, basically if your school systems are right around 100, if you're under 100, you're doing a pretty good job. We were at 64 items that they needed to address. So Joe and Yvette Davis have worked together to develop a plan. And again, none of those have been major things. then, and this is really kind of, we were working on it in my office, but then I think the treasurer's office had started hitting on it as well. We're working on implementing position control through both our applicant tracking and our EFT software. Essentially, what that means is when we're putting in requisitions for positions, it will draw from our system and say, hey, we have X number allotted of positions for this, and if someone goes to put in for a position and it goes over that number, it won't allow them to submit for that. So it'll make people have a deeper discussion if we're, you know, hey, I need an English teacher, put in a requisition for it. Right now, they have that ability to do it, and it might not necessarily get caught, right? This helps us to control our staffing and making sure that we're right size for the district. So look forward to working with Brett and his team to get that implemented.
And I know on our side of that product, we like the fact that we can define budget units and job codes within that. So when it's posted, everything just feeds right into the payroll system the way it should. You know, and we take away that manual entry in various locations, so we get control over that as well as better consistency, I think, as well. So we're all benefiting from the change here.
And the board should know that, I mean, this is a heavy lift by both of these guys and their departments for sure. And it started probably about a year and a half, maybe, well, 2 years, maybe 2.5 years ago, we started to discuss the whole idea. And really what this is using the software that we purchased to be able to handle all these different jobs that are being vacated, posting the job, and from really soup to nuts, A to Z, having them in the system to start with that goes right from the posting of the position all the way through the interview process to hiring and then paying them. Before, that had to be kind of like hand entered, I think.
And each, kind of repetitive items throughout the process.
Yeah.
Manual processes too. You know, when we started, my hair was jet black, and I weighed 145 pounds. So it's not.
Dude, you were really slim.
There's been a lot.
Yeah.
You're not the guy we interviewed. Where he went.
But they both have done a great job, and it's a heavy lift, and it's still going on, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. Thank you, Brett. Any questions for Brian? Mr. Robson? Oh, yeah, sure. Let's go in order. We'll go in the order listed. Mrs. Gogan, thank you.
I'm just gonna highlight, it's so great. I mean, I think back to this time last year when we were trying to think about hiring the replacement, right, for ECC, for our interim principal. And the process by which that we went through, which was a pretty intense process, in order, to be interviewing with us, Jim and I, then teachers, staff members, parents, and it's just, when you see, Jen Jackson present like that, and just, even being in her building, how much those kids love her, and just how happy she is, and it's just, it warms your heart. She's like, we made the right choice, right? You always are like, when you hire someone like that, it's like, you're like, please let this be the right, it feels like the right choice, but sometimes you can feel like the right choice and not be the right choice.
Oh, yeah.
Some of us may have experienced, some of that within our career, so it's really nice when she got up and spoke today. But I just want to highlight that today, the new teacher induction that goes year long, during this time, we have them all visit all the buildings. So they start at OFIS in the morning, so there's 26 new teachers this year, new staff members. And so we start at OFIS, and they get like a 45-minute kind of tour where they're visiting classrooms, walking in, talking to students, learning a little bit about what are the school and classroom standards that the building's focusing on as it relates to the benefits-based accountability right before they go in. They have a document that the principals give them. And we went from OFIS, and then we went to the middle school, then to Falls Lenox, the high school, and we ended our day at ECC. And I told Jim that, what's great is there's like, I want to say 4 or 5 new teachers who were students at one point in our district. And some of them have gone all the way through since kindergarten. So to have them go in the buildings and say things like, oh my gosh, they never had anything like this when I was in high school, right? Like, oh my gosh, they didn't have any of these courses, or oh my gosh, this isn't what our science room looked like. Or when they're at the middle school, we were never allowed to chew gum. I mean, just to hear them say things, or, even when they would walk in the building and be like, can I please go stop in so-and-so's classroom? She was my favorite teacher. Like, you hear that and you're just like, we should be proud of our district and everything that we've done. And even the fact that these people want to come back and work in the district that they went to. But it was a highlight. It was great. We all jumped on the school bus today because there was so many people. I was afraid with parking that might become an issue. So we all rode on the school bus, and it was just great. We had a great day. So those are the things that I love about my job. Not all the other compliance stuff that I have to do. But it was really fun.
That's awesome, thank you. Any questions for Ms. Gogan? Okay, Brett, now you can.
Ready? Just briefly here, when we closed the month of February, we looked at the activity that's occurred fiscal year to date, along with the projections for the remaining months of the year. And when we look at that, our anticipated annual revenue would be $50,694,000 versus our projected amount of $50,865,000, a difference of short of about $171,000. On the expense side, fiscal year to date would anticipate remainder for the year. We're at $49,176,000, and we had forecasted $49,124,000. We're within $51,000 of that projection. So that places our projected ending cash balance at $10.78 million versus $11 million. The shortfall on the revenue side is going to be caught up in March. That has to do with the timing of the advanced portion of our real estate collections. So when we do our projections, we look a lot at trends. We had a good basis of what our total was going to be. It was just trying to figure out the timing, what months were those monies going to come in. This year was a little bit odd. Actually, the last few years have been a little bit odd with COVID, delinquencies, catch-ups, and those kind of things. So I just got last night that I looked at this morning the final settlement from Cuyahoga County. And I was a little bit anxious because we were short on the first two, and I was reviewing the models. Like I know this is where we're going to end up for the year, but I didn't see it yet. When I got that settlement sheet, it more than satisfied what those projections were going to be. So we're a little short for the month of February. We're going to get back what we thought we were going to get in March on top of the difference, and hopefully then some for February. So I really feel good looking at that as to where we're going to end. We ended February with a general fund cash balance of $13.8 million. For the same period last year, it was $16 million. Again, that has to do with the timing of the real estate collections. So again, I remain very optimistic as to where we are in achieving these projected cash balance goals for the year. Fiscal year 24 audit. This is like, audit season just never ends anymore. So I spoke with Brian McQuinn today. They are wrapping up. We expect a draft report coming here, I hope next week, and we're talking about scheduling that time for he and I to go through the audit report and make sure we're all on the same page and it's reporting accurately what it should. So that's coming up. So you'll be hearing more from us and from Brian and Kiney on discussions related to that. EFP user group, we talked a little bit last month. Allison Wolfu, Holly McFadden and I went down to the spring user group session in Columbus. This has turned into a really good networking opportunity with various users of EFP throughout the state. In addition, you have Power School there, along with our ATC Meta, that they can hear what our needs are. That helps them to take back, comments to their development team, what kind of enhancements can they give to our system for the coming years. And then they get to introduce new features to us as well. This year was good. We took some things away. I think the big one, like Brian mentioned earlier, was physician control. We knew that's a model that, or a module that we wanted to become active in because it has a direct link to the applicant tracking program that he has out there. So when we came back, we had good conversations out there with Craig Inglis at Bretsfield Broadview Heights. So Tim Wolfroop and I went out there earlier this week and just kind of went through what he did, the steps he took in setting up position control on their end, kind of what his philosophy was, what was his reasoning behind doing what he did. And that'll help us, I think, continue on. Really what we're missing, or the steps we need to take, is that departmentalized definition. So what are we looking at for defining position and quotas within each building? Is it grade level? Is it department level? Is it one way in one building, which I think it is? We got the ECC, the ECC probably through OFIS, could be grade level. And then when you get up into the middle school and in high school, you're looking at the more at the departmentalized thing, I think, in that regard. So I think that's the approach we're going to take. We have a kickoff call with Meta next Wednesday where we'll kind of further define that, and we can work on setting that up. And then that'll allow Brian and his group to continue on and then pick it up from there on their side. So again, good conference, good networking opportunities, and we take away quite a bit from that. Time Clock Plus is the other one that's, this is the automated punch in, punch out, what hours am I working, electronic version. Today we're using paper. And in an organization this size, to process hourly employees by paper is prone to error, delays. Did we get it? Didn't we get it? Did we get it timely? Is it included in this period, or did it get kicked back to the next one? So we made big strides on that today. We boarded ourselves over at Office for I think about 6.5 hours. We had Time Clock Plus on Zoom with us to, as we were working through and testing, if we encountered an issue, Brandon could quickly look in and tell us where a setup may need to be. Those errors had to do, or those hurdles had to do around scheduling. What's my normal hours, and then what's my extended time or extra time? So the system's able to recognize that and calculate properly. When do I get into overtime? What's my overtime rate? If I have multiple jobs and multiple rates, there's a different calculation we apply to determining that rate. So this is going to take all the manual calculation out of it. I think it's just going to be a much timely, accurate, efficient system in the end. But it's been a lot of work. It's a heavy lift. You got a blank slate, and you're creating the system from start, and that's a big undertaking for a group of non-programmers to do. But we're getting there. Later in the agenda, you'll see a topic on there to discuss property valuations. We had Tom Conzer come out last year. The process changed last year in what we have to do as far as notifications, discussion in your public meeting, and then action taken on each one of those. So I thought last year went really well for the first time. So don't mess with something that you think's working good. So thankfully, Tom was available to come back to us tonight and share the two pieces that we have out there that I think are pretty straightforward, and the common reason as to why we would be taking this action, we would. So that's all I have. If there's any questions or not.
What is your ETA on Time Clock Plus?
So Time Clock Plus is in. Employees are clocking in and clocking out, so we're able to gather data, and that's kind of serving two purposes. One is the training aspect of the employee. When you clock in, here's the jobs that you have available to select. Here's what you should be selecting. There's the workflow then at the end of a weekly period where department heads or supervisors review those, they approve them, and then they come forward to us. The other side of that is us. Okay, once we close a pay period, let's extract that file and then upload it into the payroll system. We had hoped optimistically that we were going to be up and running at the start of this school year, and I think we found quickly that that undertaking was a bit too much from us. So by the the start of school year next year, I guess is where I'm at with that right now. We may have some folks in there using it prior to that. We've got the parapros that they're about ready to go. I think Brandon fixed that holiday issue that we had out there after the meeting today. And then our grounds, you know, when our summer grounds crew comes in, we want them to be able to use it too, so.
It seems like a lot of staff has, they've caught on how to use the system. It's just making sure that everything that is in the system is that. And unfortunately, it's like, we get to a point with some people and we're like, okay, we're good. And then there's like a little nuance. So here's an example. I had a staff member email me today and say, hey, my hours and my schedule, my hours are 8 to 3. And I'm like, well, your building principal told me they're 7:45. Yeah, it's a 2:45. So it's going back to the principal and saying, so what are this person's hours? And then whenever there's a little change or a little nuance, it's that ripple effect that, okay, I fixed it here, but what did I break way out here? So I'm running into some of those issues.
Scheduling is a big component of that. You know, how does it know what account or what job code to post that to? If I'm really doing extra hours, but my schedule that's in the system makes it look like it's part of my regular contract. If I put extra hours in there, then the way the payroll system handles it is it's going to reduce your contract balance by your extra hours, which is not the intent at all, but that's what happens in that event. So keeping up on those schedules is a task. The start of a new year, updating the rates of the employees, making sure that the new hires are in the system, and have the right jobs and tasks available to them to punch in and out to. That's the reason, you know, we created that position to bring Kelly in. So, I don't know if she sleeps at night.
No.
You'll get emails from her. You'll get emails from her at 2 o'clock in the morning. Hey, I'm looking. I'm like, wow. So.
You have a new payroll system and you have a new HRIS thing as well. And so, those are two pretty big tsunamis crashing at the same time. But we chose to do that. We knew that would happen. It's just we're working through it.
And I, you know, it was frustrating today when we first started that things didn't appear to be as far along as we thought they were. But by the end of that session, we were able to successfully export and import that group of paras. And what we did is we pulled a specific period out, and that's what we exported and imported, and we compared that to that same group from their live data, and how did that compare? And it was lining up exactly how we had hoped it would. So we're, you know, again, that was good progress, I thought. But then there's just that much more work to do on each of the other classifications for testing as well.
Sure. Anything else for Brett? No?
A couple things. First, obviously, our girls are going down, are down in Dayton to play Magnificat in the first game of the Final Four. And we're hopeful that #Public Schools that they'll win and advance on to the final game. I'd like to thank, first, you know, we called off school. I called off school on Friday, but I say we because you never get too far out in front of your board. So I appreciate you guys weighing in on that. And I asked Maggie Filippo and PTA, and she was quickly got feedback on that, and then also the administrators as well. And so I've only gotten one, why are you doing that? It doesn't impact my child, and it's only for 12 girls and some people at the high school. And I think for a family that's new to Olmsted Falls, that may be kind of like what it feels like, but we know we're a real small community, and we take a lot of pride in what it is that we do, and I think tomorrow's going to be a big deal, and I think it made the most sense. I really kind of wanted to run a half day, but it just logistically, we couldn't pull it off, and I think from what we heard from parents is that would just create problems for them as well, and so that's the reason why we canceled. I hope that you have the opportunity to go down if you do and to check it out. We're so fortunate that we were there last year, and it is a really, really cool thing. And I swear, everybody from Olmsted Falls came out, and they need that support. So we're looking forward to that. I indicated to you that we have a tentative agreement with OPSI. I can't specifically tell you everything, and I wouldn't tell you in public until it's official anyway, but my apologies to the attorneys in the room. We did this without attorneys, and it went splendidly. We didn't have to spend any money at all on legal counsel, and for both OFEA and OPSI, and I think that's probably a first that we were able to do that. My thanks to both Brian and Keith Krakowiak, who sat down in the basement conference room today with John Yule, who's the president of OPSI, and Harold Hahn, who's the vice president. They plowed through the contract, and so what you will see, my hope was to give it to you today, and we fell short on that, but we didn't want to rush anything, and so we'll get it to you, and you will see, very similar to the OFEA, a document that is a Word document that has strike-throughs of language of what was, and then what is. We were pretty much able to kind of embrace the concept of the raise and roll, so to speak. There are some kind of cosmetic changes, or what we call housekeeping language items, but there are no fundamental different kind of major language changes at all, and I think that we were able to provide a fair contract that values them, and then also able to make some market corrections without blowing a ginormous hole in the budget. And Brett, as I indicated to you in writing, just did a tremendous job of setting us up to be able to do all that. So that, I think, is really good news. Yeah, we're pleased about that. Once the negotiations part kind of like got completed, we're not then able to take a look at what the budget looks like moving forward. Included within that is this board office lease, and so we're still in conversation with Carnegie about that. Brett and I talked today, reread the revised lease, and then he sent it off to Ryan Callender from Squires. We do use attorneys sometimes to take a look at things, and to make certain that everything is pretty good there. But there are a couple different things that we need to still address. One is snow removal and paying for that and the estimation of that cost. So there's like the cost for the rent, and then there's all these ancillary kinds of things that Phil uses fancy lawyer language for what it is in that contract the last time that the board met, that really is all those additional kinds of things, which include snow removal, lawn maintenance, and all those things. We have people that can do that, and so we're going to try to work with them on that. And it may very well be that if we do snow removal, we can't like skip by Southwest and pick up our plows, drive over the snow and drop it down and do it. So we would likely look to clear it for everybody over in that whole area. And so our hope would be is that we would get a reduction on those things. And then also with the lawn maintenance stuff too. I don't know if we're going to be able to do that or not. That cost to me is a decent number. I mean, it's like $15,000 to $17,000 annually of cost for like snow removal and maintenance. If we have winters like we had this year, then it maybe only will cost $2,000 for snow removal. But we're hopeful that we're still kind of like on pace to be able to do that. So I just wanted you to provide you with an update of that. Do you have any questions about any of that? Oh, the one thing too is that we need to meet with Joe Mabry too to talk about technology. And one of the reasons being is because we have a whole fiber system that is the backbone of our internet system here, and it stops at the middle school, right? And in order for us to kind of move it down the road and be part of that, there's going to be a cost associated with that. And so Brett and Brian were meeting with their thing that they talked about with Time Clock Plus. I sat with Joe for a brief amount of time, but he gave a real good indication of what those costs are going to be. There'll be one-time costs, but there'll be some startup costs as it relates to getting us online, and we have some additional questions for the people at Carnegie as it relates to once they build it, are they pulling just kind of infrastructure or cable into each of the drop areas that we have. And so it's 9,500 square feet, you have about 120 drops for Ethernet drops for communication and stuff. And so I don't know if we're supposed to pay for that or if they're gonna pay for that, and that's part of what we're renting on. So we'll check that out. The facility study is coming along, and our next meeting is March 28th, and it's going to be a really important meeting, and one of the reasons why, and it's with that committee, and I've invited the principals and some of the central office people, because we're going to need to kind of work through, and the architects will be there as well, what it is that we saw whenever we visited, this idea of deferred maintenance and how much does it cost to maintain a building, and when do you say it's not feasible or wise for us to continue to push our resources to keep a building online when really the building is dying. What would it cost to renovate? What would it cost to build new? Should you do any kind of consolidation with grade levels and so on? So we're going to really look at a number of different things and then be able to hopefully reduce those and then work on a communication or an engagement strategy with the community, because it's really important that we vet any idea that we might be able to have with the entire community and allow them to weigh in on things, because ultimately they're going to make the choice of what it is that we do. Yes, sir?
I'm on that committee and I'm not able to attend that night. Just kind of want to go to the board in case somebody else wants to go.
You guys can decide that, and we'll certainly provide you with a write-up or whatever on everything. But remember, this committee, the purpose of this committee is to create a master facilities plan. And then if there is obviously when you have that plan, regardless of whether you're renovating or you're building new, you'll need to have resources in order to do that. And so it will be up to the board to make the determination on what it is that it wants to go for, with all this feedback report from the facilities group, and then with negotiations being over, I think we're going to have a work session with you to really talk about, here's what the budget looks like, and here's sort of like when the end life is, or when you will need to consider additional operating resources. Here's the master facilities plan, and if you want to do this, this is how much it costs, and this is by way of millage as it relates to a bond issue, a PI issue, and then also your operating costs, and then the timing of all those different things. So, I mean, sometime between the next 4 to 10 years, this community is going to need to pass a bond issue, a PI issue, and an operating issue. And the timing is going to be determined by you, with input certainly from us, but it will be your job to make that determination. But you'll have a lot of data and feedback from community in order to help you make good choices, I think. Any questions about any of that? Okay. So Brian is taking his dog and pony show and going around and talking to lots of different people. And one of the reasons why he's doing that is because we have, there are 7 teaching positions that we know of that we're going to need to replace. We took a look at all of those. There's not a position that we have right now that we are not going to replace. Our sort of right sizing and financial issues that we had before, whatever was there as far as like fact or whatever it is, financial, term that you want to use, has been, eliminated. And so one of the things that we will look to do is to take a look at, once we roll the grade levels over, what are the class sizes there, and I'll be able to give you that data. We'll be able to take a look at what are the incoming kindergarten registrations, what does that look like. Jen told you now, we have 9 preschool classrooms and we have 10 kindergarten classrooms, and so we're anticipating that it's going to probably be about the same there. But those 7 retirements from the certified side, there are 7 non-certified retirements as well. And so when you look at that total expense of those 14 employees, it's $1.2 million. So these are people who have worked here for quite a while, and we're going to miss them, and they have tons of institutional knowledge. That cost is just salary. That does not include any benefits associated with insurance or whatever it may happen to be. We will see to it that we are going to make some good choices as it relates to who we hire, but some of those will also likely be financially based as well. And so there are hard to fill positions, special education positions, where you're gonna hire somebody probably and you're gonna need to pay a little bit more. And then there are others where you're not necessarily gonna need to do that. And so moving forward, as we have been over the last 3 years, for sure, since we had some financial issues, we're really cognizant on, we're always cognizant on who we hire, but we're going to be extra cognizant on the experience and the cost of the person that we're bringing in. So just so you know that. I shared with you a little bit about some of the kind of restructuring that we're thinking of doing as it relates to technology, and we'll talk about that at another time. We haven't fully kind of pushed that out there. We haven't put anything, I don't think, in front of you for approval or for you to vote on it, but you know a little bit about that. We're thinking maybe that we might need another school psychologist. So the number of new staff members is going to be limited. And as I said before, I have the diff chart that shows. I haven't shared it with you yet because I'm starting to finalize those people who are retiring. And then what we will do is we continue to fill those positions. There'll be a difference of how much cost we had versus how much cost we're now bringing in. And obviously the hope is that you're going to see a rather large negative savings number for that, which will then allow some flexibility within the budget. We are an older staff, so I think over the course of the next 5 years, you're probably going to see different people retiring. Maybe some of the people who are sitting around this table. And when you do that, you'll be able to have to spend less. You lose institutional knowledge, but you'll be able to save some resources on that. That felt weird to say. That's all I
It
got.
felt weird to hear. How about that?
What's that?
It felt weird to hear.
Yeah, right. But we're projecting those things. This is one of the things that Brett, with his financial analysis did, is that we can take a look, generally speaking, how long people have worked, how old they are, and when by age they're eligible to retire. And one of the things that we're going to try to do in order to really solidify that list is go, hey, we think you've worked this long, we think that you can retire here. Is this accurate or not? We don't get their STRS statements on the number of years of service that they have. But
And STRs won't share.
and they won't share that with us. So you ask the employee to really, it helps us plan financially. And when people go to and ask for additional resources, certainly it's the people in the community that do that, but it's also the people that work within the organization that do that as well. So
And that can be a pretty sensitive
it
conversation
can be.
with the employee too.
Do we find that staff members that are eligible to retire, or do they stay longer?
So, they switched the rules on us, and they extended things. I think what you might see is some members looking to take the retiree hire that's within the context of the contract. And when that happens, you'll have, for instance, somebody who is probably at about $100,000 cost from just salary alone, and then the rehire would put them in about a $55,000 cost. So they get an automatic 1 year, and then after that, they're an at-will employee, and then the board and administration get to determine whether or not you're going to continue to renew that. So there may be some people when they hit that 34th year, it used to be 30, now it must be 34, or 35th year, they're going to leave. Or they'll look to retire, rehire, and come back at half the cost, which is huge as well. But we have that number. When you look forward, it's like, institutional names, people who've been around here for quite a while and everybody knows.
Well, no, I was just gonna say, to your point, I think more people would probably go and retire when they hit the 34, 35 year. The problem is health insurance.
Right.
Not necessarily for the employee through STRS, but if you have a spouse who needs your insurance, it's almost, it's
Full
coverage.
coverage.
It's $1,200–1,300 a month.
Yeah, it's a lot more.
14, 15.
Yeah, you were retired and your spouse isn't part of the system, it's going to cost you $14,000 a year in order to have comparable coverage.
Yeah, so they're
Welcome
like,
to the private sector.
I understand.
but they're not
You
used
can
to
always
it.
go on the
Private
exchange.
sector's probably paying more. No, I
Maybe.
mean,
Well,
it's unfortunate,
That's
but
a
it's
real
it's
thing
life.
when you're thinking
Yeah.
about retirement, because if you're not at 65, you're not at Medicare.
Well, that's,
Right.
and that's the thing, people started teaching when, they
Right,
got
they
right out
were
of college.
23 years old, right?
So, they've been doing it and they're, 53 and it's 30 years and they're like, all right, I'm going to 65.
I think Brian had pulled some, or working with ERC, am I saying that right?
The early retirement,
That outfit
Yeah.
there that helps identify some of those folks too, and maybe some options you may have to work with the group at some point. And members of the health consortium are working with them right now as well too, so that's kind of a hot topic in the area.
Right, like, is there, different angles to look, and is there any, since we are self-insured, right, to, I guess, lower our salary costs, but still provide some sort of benefit if they need it, or, you know what I'm saying, to incentivize or some, I don't know, I'm just spitballing here, but just wondering. Like, is it legal to, I don't know if there's laws around,
well, that's when we have attorneys to ask questions too.
Bill
Bill
there's laws
Auerland
around,
tells
no,
us,
you
yeah,
can't, do that or whatever.
my third attorney.
I mean, the retiree hire incentive for our teaching staff, the way it's structured currently, some would take it, but most, it's probably not worth. So, because for our teaching staff, it caps at $10,000. So it used to be a higher number, and a lot of our teachers, they wouldn't see the benefit.
So that's language that you could take a look at. That's language that was written previously by, when Hoadley was the superintendent in that board. We have not gone in, since I've been here, and I was here when that language was put in, to take a look at that language and make really any changes to it at all.
I know when the STRS went from 30 to 35, a lot of districts pulled out of that retirement incentive game because you didn't think you were going to need it.
Right.
Most folks were ready to retire at 30, and now they got to go to 35.
And then they're like really ready.
There's still several out there, I think, that maybe 35 is not their number, maybe it's 37.
And I've talked to a couple people about that as well. They're like, I'm not done. I still love what I do. I'm still good at it, and they are. So, So, really over the next 3 years, we need to take a look at who's eligible and have some conversations about what it is that they might do so that we can properly plan for, replacing or not, and then also what it looks like financially as it relates to the operating budget.
So I know that we're voting on some retirements tonight. Are we expecting more, like next month, or is this it?
I think that there may be
And if you don't know, that's
There may
okay.
be an additional,
Okay,
yeah,
sure, well,
I don't have like that.
that's,
Yeah, okay.
that's okay.
Are you thinking 3 from both combo of certified and non-certified, or are you thinking,
Based on our letters, I'm anticipating recertified.
okay. Yeah, the list I may be peeking at may not be the most up-to-date yet, because they send them to you, they don't send them to me, and as they should, so. Because you have the conversations.
Yeah, I believe there are 3 out there that I'm.
That's fine, I'm just,
Yeah.
Yeah.
wondering for clarification purposes.
That's all I have, Mr. Eichenroth. That seems about enough.
Any questions? And can you just give us 30 seconds quickly on what's happening in June at the track and whether that is,
Yeah,
the-
okay.
the-
Yeah.
more specifically, the cooperation or however that's going with the city and township?
Yeah, so,
Anything we need to know?
so if you think about like a heavy lift, that's gonna be a heavy lift, I think. The good thing is this, so I don't know everything yet. Rob is in discussions with Katie Moon's representatives, and what the question really is, who's our contact at Nike? Because they're the ones that are sponsoring the event, and what resources do they have to provide to us to allow the event to be like they would like it to be. And then conversations with Katie about, it's her, it's her thing, so, and we certainly want to accommodate that because we love her, but we want to know what are her expectations for this. I mean, there's not going to be any charging of tickets. That, she was really adamant about that. But at the same time, we just can't have like 50,000 people come onto the stadium. So there's got to be some sort of like, who's handling logistics? So we're deciding all those things. The township and city said, yeah, we'll help you with whatever. And really what we need for them is police and fire and anything related to their CERT department to help do crowd management. And then they'll call in like whatever, SWAT or whoever else, kind of like what we had before. But, we have like, where are we gonna sit everyone? How's that gonna work? We have bleachers that we're looking to kind of redo. When's that gonna happen? We have a high jump pit. I mean, all those kinds of things. Do we line up food trucks on the outside? I mean, where are these things being stationed? So,
I
Kim.
can imagine that our pole vault mat and pole vault equipment is adequate for world-class pole vault.
So they will have people that will come and check that.
So a lot of track meets.
Yeah, it's not so bad. It passed the test, so to speak. Yeah. Now we have to buy a new cover for our mat or something like that because it was stored outside and there were vermin that got in there and like ate it up and stuff. But it'd been nice for Nike to buy that. But I'd like for them, quite honestly, to buy us all kinds of things and have a really cool event because they're putting up a purse for the winter. Katie's brother is a track coach, I think. I don't know if it's in Ashland or somewhere else. Do you remember, Kim? Yeah, so there are people who know about these things, who do these things for collegiate or professionally, who will come in and make certain that your equipment isn't hee-haw equipment. And so ours is not.
Maybe the biggest jumps that our stadium's ever seen.
Oh, yeah, you're gonna have world-class athletes that are gonna come in. Yeah, this is like a real deal kind of thing. But we're okay, I think, thus far. All the other stuff, the logistical things, yeah, it scares me still right now, because I don't know how that's gonna go down. And we need help.
Yeah, we've outlined it for people to say, these are all of our questions. We had a good meeting last week internally with what we know to date and what we think we need to know, and so there's some wheels turning, I think we should be.
Right, and like who do you invite, and now, I mean, since she won the gold, it's like, her status is elevated quite considerably.
Yeah, it's cool. It's a lot of work to be done in less than 3 months. But
Yeah, and it's like a week after graduation.
It feels like it's around the corner.
Kinda is.
It is.
Yeah, we're trying not to worry about
What the scare you?
We've planned big things before, and so, we could do it again.
We got it.
It's worth it.
Sounds like skeptical.
yeah, very, very cool. Well, let us know.
Okay.
The Browns felt like they swooped in, like when the Browns did theirs, they're like, we got this.
Oh, yeah,
We're
that's a
hoping
good-
that Nike's gonna send like Nike people. That's my hope. We're gonna find that
That's
out.
a good analogy, yeah.
Yeah, didn't it feel like that? It felt like the Browns were like, hey, just show up.
Yeah,
They brought, like, it was everything.
get out of the way.
Right,
Let's do
yeah,
it.
get out of the way,
That's
we
fine with us.
got this.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I'm sure it'll work. It's Nike for that.
Great for us.
Awesome, thank you. Hearing of the Avens? No.
See, it's so nice that he's a comedian.
I know.
Yeah.
Can't turn it off.
I don't want you to.
Moving on to agenda item number 5, and the aforementioned property valuations of some concerts. Brett, you want to?
Yeah, probably might come too, I think, so people can hear it and, at home.
Okay. Separate vote.
As one of the services my office offers for the district is we review the real estate transactions occurring within the district each year to see if those transactions would indicate that certain parcels of property in the district are substantially undervalued for real estate tax purposes. And in this past year, we were looking back based on the new parameters that House Bill 126 put into effect. We were looking back at the sales that occurred in 2022. And as a result of that review, we identified 2 parcels of property that are significantly undervalued by the county for purposes of real estate taxes. And we're presenting to the board a recommendation that it authorizes that the board authorize the district to file increased complaints with the Board of Revision, asking that the Board of Revision increase the values of these properties so that the properties pay their fair share of real estate taxes. Now, the first property deals with property located at 1264 West Bagley Road. It's owned by Toft Farms LLC, which is an Oregon corporation. It's a Taco Bell on Bagley Road. It's located near the cemetery on Bagley Road by Blaze Industrial Park. And we found that for the 2023 tax year, the fiscal office had valued that property at about $873,000, but it had sold in October of 2022 for $2.5 million, a difference of $1.6 million. So we think that that property should be upgraded in value, and we're recommending that the board authorize a filing of an increased complaint on that property. The second property deals with the Kids First Learning Center on Bagley Road. That property was sold in March of 2022 for $2 million. And it was sold to SCFRC Funding for LLC, which is an organization out of Chicago. The county has it on the tax loop at $463,000. So you're looking at a difference of $2 million.
Was GOE sold? I guess I didn't know the. I mean, we used to own that whole property. Well, the board owned that property at one point, right? Back in the day. That was the middle school.
Yeah, I'm guessing so, yeah.
It was the
This is
original.
right next to.
Yeah.
They sold the property for,
$2 million.
I forget the guy's name. I guess he must have sold out and retired.
yeah, what's his name, Bill Boyer, Bill Boyer.
That's who it was.
I can't believe that I'm sure that he still probably runs kids, owns kids. Can't,
It is possible that they took a lease back to continue to operate the property. We haven't been able to locate any lease in the county records yet, and there wouldn't necessarily be one. So I don't know if he sold out the interest in the learning center with the property, but the real estate by itself sold for the $2 million. Not the business, just the real estate.
That's incredible.
It's 2.4 in the proposal.
That's incredible. It's just, it's like a third of that whole property. Interesting. And it's undervalued. By a lot.
Considerably. I'm sure Mr. Boyle would contend that it wasn't.
Well, of
I think
course.
it has been undervalued for some time.
Go, Conser, go.
Okay. So we'd like to file an increased complaint on that one too.
Great.
Good. Tom, can you kind of share with us, how does this happen at the county level, that those values don't get updated? I thought that was kind of the standard protocol when transactions occur. I can't really explain it. I can give you some thoughts about what's happening at times. You know, if a sale occurs late in the year, I say late in 2022, they're not going to even look at that sale when they set values for 2023, because they're setting these values and sending them down to Columbus in the last quarter of the year. What I can't explain is a sale like this Boyer sale being one that occurred in March of 2022, and they don't update the 2023 certainly would be permitted to do that. Whether it's their policy that they just don't do it, because, 2023 is the last year of the triennium. So they're doing a reappraisal for 2024. I don't know that if they have a policy that just says, we're not even gonna look at the sales, they should be, but it seems that they never really pick up a sale unless we file an increase complaint. And under the new law, we can't even file an increase complaint unless the sale is more than $535,000 more than the county's value, which that's kind of absurd, so.
Yeah, and the board must pass a resolution.
Yeah, and you're here,
They put a lot of.
Used to be
hoops
just,
to
Well,
jump
sure
just
through.
go, Tom,
did.
go ahead and go, but they changed the law.
despicable on the legislature's part.
I mean, if you've got a property that's valued at $200,000 and it sells for $600,000,
Can't do anything about it.
you can't even file an increase complaint.
Yeah, can't do anything about it.
It's tripled in value, and you can't do anything about it.
And they should have placed it on the books at that sale price anyway. So if even if it's a clear air, we can't file a complaint for.
The only thing we might be able to do, I suppose we could gather these sales together and send a report down to the county and say, hey,
Revise them.
adjust your duplicate.
Yeah.
But we don't have any formal way of requiring them to do it. I mean, they could look at our report and maybe adjust the duplicate, or they could look at it and just throw it aside. We can't force them to do anything.
I think we should always make them aware.
I do, I agree, because
I-
I almost feel like
Yeah. I
this
think-
is from a high level, people are like, oh, well, it gets fixed anyway, and then they don't realize how much is not getting fixed. And how
Right,
much
and
is
it
actually
adds
getting
up,
fixed
and it
because
adds up.
schools and people that rely on property taxes were telling them.
Right. Yeah.
Because
That's my general.
they do have the ability to do it, because we're looking at county records to find these sales.
Right,
So they could do it also.
right.
So what we could do is, if you would like, is we could send a report down each year saying, we've reviewed sales from 2023. We see these property sales that indicate a value substantially higher than what the county has it on at. Would you please look at this?
Yeah.
I mean, I would personally like to see the list anyway. Personally, I mean, just so we know
Yeah, but I also think that we
yeah,
should,
and we said
through,
exactly.
yeah, for sure.
It's effectively a demand letter that says these need to be adjusted, and if they're
Yeah.
not in 60 days, then we're gonna file complaints on all of them.
Well, these are the ones we can't
These are the
file
ones we
official
can't file.
complaints.
Oh, you're talking the ones who can't?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, those two,
Yeah,
sure.
those,
Yeah.
we should just send a letter regardless to the county to say, hey, listen, can't find, these are undervalued to the tune of this amount of money. That affects our school district.
And Tom, can you maybe just, for my benefit, because I always forget this, at least just give us the 60-second reminder on the two types of millage, the actual impact that increasing the valuation on these properties will have?
Well, the increase will have an effect for a minimum of 1 year, because it's, the effective tax rate has been set using the old value. So if you increase that value, there's going to be an add-on bill using the effective tax rate for the increased value. Now, the next year, if the county adjusts the effective tax rate to reflect that new value, that's not going to increase the taxes, because it'll just drop the effective tax rate. But usually the county doesn't move that quickly on adjusting the effective tax rate for those increased values. So you may get I've seen sometimes 3 years of increased taxes as a result of it.
I mean,
And
So
it-
what the
that's-
point is
there's
that-
more money coming in the door.
Yes.
That's all, I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
And-
and I don't care if it's just for 1 year, 3 years,
Yeah,
10
well,
years.
if it's
It doesn't
$5
matter,
more
even
bucks,
if it's just for
that's
1
our
year,
$5.
it's money that
You
is
pay
owed to the school
taxes.
district.
that
So it's your,
they're- that
it's your inside millage.
Yeah, the
that's
inside
gonna- that's
millage
gonna
is
get
gonna-
that.
And, you know, that doesn't even consider the decreased complaints that are filed. Fighting.
Find it the other way.
So that has an impact, because if the property owner gets a decreased complaint, then they're refunded tax dollars, which is gonna come out of your pocket.
And that also had a change, correct? Our ability to fight decreases changed within the legislature too, is that right? Or no?
It's been made more difficult because we don't have the right to appeal a decision of the Board of Revision.
Okay.
Previously, we could appeal to the Board
We
of
used
Tax
to.
Appeals.
They took it away.
The property owner could appeal to the Board of Tax Appeals.
So we lost an ability.
Right, so we're limited to doing it at the Board of Revision, which means we have to almost always hire an appraiser at that level. Even before we know if the property owner's going to hire an appraiser. In the past, we could wait till the property owner presented their case at the Board of Revision. If they hired an appraiser and we disagreed with the result, we could then appeal to the BTA and hire an appraiser. Under the new format, we go to the Board of Revision hearing. If we want to present an appraisal, we have to hire an appraiser at that point. And if the property owner hasn't hired one, we've just spent money on an appraiser that we didn't need. And there's no way we can really know if the property owner's going to hire an appraiser. Because they don't have to let us know until 5 days before the hearing. And at that point, you can't
You're
hire.
not gonna find an appraiser unless you're an appraiser. Yeah.
So that's been very difficult.
Okay.
And then I don't want to get political here, but do all government, local government entities benefit from this appeal that we file?
Any entity that receives real estate taxes, because that increased value is going to increase the revenue to the county library.
Do any of them appeal?
They cannot,
They cannot.
they don't have the ability to.
So we do. We
And-
do because we
And the township and
can.
the city probably wouldn't, because we get the lion's share of the real estate tax.
No,
Not
no.
the lion's share, but the majority.
And that's always been a point of frustration for me, is the schools are bearing the cost.
Sure.
Everybody else
And
benefits,
everybody else
nobody
benefits.
wants to share with
Right.
us on that, and that's just bothersome too.
In the past, there have been instances where some cities have chipped in on the cost, and Polaris has chipped in on the cost, but that's not occurring now.
Brett, thank goodness you weren't here when we finally collected our money from Eliza Jennings. The township got a very, very nice check in back taxes, thanks to us,
Through the efforts of those.
through the efforts
And
of
costs.
Olmsted Falls City School District.
That was the 10-year war. Yeah, that was a
Yeah.
10-year war with them.
I remember.
And they paid out like 2.4 million.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was like back in like 15 that we finally collected that. And the township got a good change.
Yeah. I was gonna say,
Yeah,
it would be nice, it would just be nice.
It would be
to
nice
share-
if
to
they would say,
share.
oh, well, you know.
To some degree.
Yeah, yay.
Well, we invite the trustees and the council and the mayor to
Exactly.
help us out if you want to. Any questions about these two properties specifically for Tom? So we can take a vote on this now, I believe. Yes, right? Okay, well, thanks. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you
for
very
coming.
much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate
Do you have to vote on them separately?
Yep, so I will accept the motion to approve the agenda item 5A, which is the resolution for the complaint for parcel number ending 019.
So moved.
Second.
I just want to use my phone.
When you're ready, sir.
Mr. Funk?
Yes.
Mr. Perez?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mrs. Newman?
Yes.
And Mr. Eichenberg?
Yes, motion carries. Thank you. Accept a motion for approval of agenda item 5B, resolution for the complaint with respect to parcel number ending 004.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Robson.
Mr. Funk?
Yes.
Mr. Perez?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mrs. Newman?
Yes.
Mr. Eichenberg?
Yes, motion carries. Thank you, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Keep your ear to the ground for these things.
Yes.
Although my cost of my Taco Bell run might go up.
They're just gonna push that off on, I guess I didn't even realize that that was part of our collections.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to find Taco Bell.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to wear a disguise next time we go in there. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Items number 7 and 8 and their subsets. I'll accept the motion to approve agenda items 7 and 8, consent agenda items 7 and 8.
So moved.
Second.
Anyone have any questions or discussions about anything in 7 or 8? Or do you want to comment on
Just
anything?
know that item D is the bleachers, and so it's maintenance, and we're having a group come out and strip and maintain those, and have them look almost new whenever we're done with them. That is a hefty cost, and Mr. Robson, what was it, like close to $300,000? That will not happen until the summertime. So it will not be ready for this track season, or football season, or lacrosse, or whatever your preference is, but it will happen over the summer.
So regarding 8B, so I get what it's trying to do and I support that, but is it, the way it's worded is kind of gets into the editorials, and just from my knowledge, is that generally the way, it seems kind of atypical for resolutions. Does that make sense?
We actually have to do that.
You do?
It's actually a requirement if you are a district who is going to be testing in paper.
No, I understand.
Oh.
He's
I
saying the way-
understand the authorization and I agree with that.
Oh,
But the wording in there kind of, I mean, they go in to kind of make fun of the law and it just
Oh,
like.
that might have been
That's
something
him.
that I may have done
that's
that.
it.
I may have done that quite a few years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause we just keep doing it, and then what happens is as soon as you guys approve it, I get to send it to ODE.
Sure,
And we kind of like having this narrative there.
sure.
I don't know if anybody reads it.
Justin read it.
I read it. It's, I don't particularly like the snark and I don't think it
Okay.
adds anything legally.
It does
I mean,
not, it
obviously
doesn't add
doesn't.
anything legally, you're right, I admit that. And I think that if the board would want to change that, we certainly can. Like you could remove the part where it talks about deregulation and Webster's dictionary version of what deregulation means.
Right, again, I understand where you're coming from, I agree
Yep.
with a lot of what you're saying, it just, to me, it didn't really seem appropriate.
Yeah,
in the
it's not, we
resolution.
can, I think when, at the time when this was put into place that required the board to take action on something, in my opinion, that should be an administrative right just to be able to do, a board shouldn't have to say whether it's paper or
Absolutely.
pencil. That was the purpose of that. I think that now that time has healed all wounds, that we could, I think that could be removed. And so what we could do is take that, remove that, and then have you approve after that's removed.
I don't wanna hold it up, I just kinda wanna bring it up as kind of a general, even a question thing too.
Yeah, we have time.
Yeah.
Right?
Correct. I just
Yeah.
need to do it by, I think it's May 31st or June 1st.
Right, is the board able to, like if I say, okay, this is the recommendation that I'm giving to the board and I'm going to remove paragraph 4, and know that if you approve this, paragraph 4 will be removed, are they permitted to approve it?
Right, yeah, they can make a motion that states, hey, we approve consent agenda item with a modification to this item.
To paragraph 4?
Right.
Okay,
Let's just see it again.
okay,
I don't want to do that.
okay,
Let's just take it off and see it again.
got it. Yeah, that was routine, I forgot that was in there.
No, it's a good note.
I understand.
All right, yeah. So now,
Are you only being so agreeable because your reviews today?
No, I mean, honestly, I would keep, I'll use Snark in different ways. I mean, I have,
yeah, his other outlets.
that was, I think it aged well. I don't think it's, it's still kind of silly, but, I mean, I'm doing other things now as far as vouchers go, so.
You have other outlets for yourself.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what we're gonna do is remove, I would want to remove, B from the agenda in entirety, and what we will do is we will revise B and put it for the board's consideration, at the next regular meeting.
Is that 8B?
8B.
Yes, sir.
Item 8B, okay, with removal of item 8B to
Yeah.
be revised and presented at the next meeting.
At the next, regular meeting, yeah.
We have had a history of our current sitting superintendent, call out Columbus often on things, right? We've sent back banners that say we're excellent, right? And so I appreciate where he comes from, and but I also appreciate your thoughts as well, Justin. But so far, it seems pretty harmless, and it makes our superintendent feel good to get it off
I
his
feel
chest.
good.
And sometimes it makes me feel good, like I was like, yes.
I remember this coming up like 3 or 4 years ago. And again, especially at the time, totally more relevant.
Yeah, at that time, I think now it's really, this resolution is perfunctory anyway, and so, I think that it's time that it be removed.
Yeah, but I also think about, we just had a whole discussion about money that is not being collected, right? Because of laws that Columbus has passed that affect our bottom line. And we're just supposed to take it and not push back. I mean, there are ways to push back that are not snarky, but honestly, yeah, I could be snarky too, and it does make me feel good. So, but I'm fine to remove it, but just saying, I see both sides of it.
Yeah, I had honestly forgotten it was even in there.
That's because we just,
We took the same resolution,
Every year.
Save
then
the
please
death
change
down.
the dates,
remember
should
change the dates
and
and put
it's
it
in
on
there.
there, because it's a,
Yeah.
every year, this meeting, it's just.
We will revise.
Okay, so we probably should have a new motion to approve agenda items 7A, 8A, and C through N.
So moved. Second.
Any other questions or discussions about any other agenda, consent agenda items? Call vote?
Mr. Funk?
Yes.
Mr. Perez?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mrs. Newman?
Yes.
And Mr. Raymond?
Yes. Motion carries. All right, board discussion, item 10A, RSVPs, the academic honors banquet. Everybody have those in. Bob's
Yeah,
going,
I
think.
cannot make it that
I
much.
can't go. Bob's going.
Bob's going.
Bob's
Okay.
going.
Well,
Great.
It's a good
still
event.
great. It's fun.
It's
Yeah,
actually
it's
Thanks,
really
Bob.
fun.
fun.
It is good, they have,
And the food's
We'll
usually
like
good.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
they
food's
do
really good.
prompts for the students, and those are fun.
Thank you for
They have to
recommending
answer
the board.
questions.
Yeah.
It's a-
And if you learn anything from Kelly, bring your own Diet Coke. If you want to drink something other than water or iced tea,
Yeah.
the food is fantastic, but the drink selection is atrocious. So Kelly always has,
Maybe if you
Two
bring
Diet
that
Cokes
Coke
in her
drinker,
purse.
maybe bring an extra for,
I'll bring a whole cooler.
Yeah, she got her
I
little
got a little
igloo.
cooler.
her
I was
little
legitimately mad when I
I
saw
know
you
you was,
last
he's
year.
like, why do you have that? I was like, there's never anything to drink.
she's a vet.
Coffee, water.
Next regular meeting scheduled April 11th, and work session on the 25th. The 25th may be going away and/or being modified, A, because of the track thing, and B, also, we just might not need it, so stay tuned for
That's
that.
weird.
We'll-
I thought that was flipped. I thought we were regular meeting on the 25th and work session on the 11th.
No, we'll
So you
have,
feel less guilty now, right?
So I feel less guilty
Yeah.
because I now, transportation, and then if they make it, which I'm 90% sure they will, they have to be there on Thursday.
Right.
And Chuck has a board meeting that day that he can't get moved and he can't miss, so.
great, well, you're not gonna miss it.
Speaking of, meeting changes, May 9th is our work session in May. That is, the choir pops concert at the high school. And I have a senior and, so we may not need a work session in May, I don't know.
The 9th is the work
The
session.
9th is the work session. Do you need me to put that in an email and, or not, like, or, like, no?
Yeah, let's just wait.
Okay,
Debbie will eventually.
Yeah, I think it might be a good idea for the board to sort of weigh in on the kinds of things that you would like to discuss at a work session. I think one of those, if you recall, there are some things related with the police department that would need to be in a work session, that there should be discussion. If you remember back last year about that, there were questions that I was asked that I can't answer, and so I think it might behoove the board to have people come in, police officers, SROs, and talk about that, and, weigh in on whatever it is that the board feels, so that would come in April or May. And it could be moved, but that's one that's out there, but I think there are maybe other things, like facilities could be a discussion, could have a financial update on things as well related to the decisions that we made, but these are just things that are in my head, they're not, it's your meeting, and we're here for you, so.
Maybe let's check and see if we can do the law enforcement thing on April 11th.
You could do April 11th, see if they're available, and then go in executive session and talk
See if
about it,
they
you could
can
do
come.
that.
at the end,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
And again, so, again, if you want to kick that to the May work session, I don't think I've